everybody. My name is Pamela Topchian, and welcome to Holistic Connections, conversations with holistic practitioners. And today we have Laurie, and I will let you introduce yourself, Laurie, and tell us a little bit about what you do in the holistic healing world.
Sure. Well, I'm Laurie Santos, and I'm originally from California. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay. And I now live overseas. I've lived overseas for a really long time. That was actually part of my holistic journey.
Hmm?
Interesting. Yeah. I was a federal probation officer for quite some time. Actually, my master's is in criminology.
Mm-hmm.
I had been working in law enforcement and for the judicial branch for a long time, and I just really felt my soul was being snuffed
Yeah.
out slowly. And now this,
Yeah.
mind you, this is back in the early 2000s. This is before
Hmm.
2002.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was meant to do something different. I loved the work I had been doing as an officer. I really loved it. I found it fascinating, but I didn't enjoy all of the sort of the controls, if you will, by the federal government.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
also, I didn't enjoy the lack of congruency with respect
Yeah.
to upper management and so on.
Mhm.
But I tell you, I didn't know what my next was at that
Yeah.
time. I knew I wanted to go, but we didn't really use that phrase back then about transferable skills. And I didn't
Yeah.
know what I could go into. I felt a bit
Right.
pigeonholed. Yeah, my undergrad is in anthropology, my master's was in criminology, and I was kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to have to go still work with respect to something that's to do with security or whatnot. So
Yeah.
was looking at like private security companies, the Lawrence Livermore Lab, and that's just still wasn't sparking me. Then this one day, I had a subscription to Shape magazine back then, and I
Hmm.
just used to.
I can picture it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a beautiful magazine. I
Yeah.
loved it. And I was flicking through, was in my mid 20s. I think I was around 26 or so. I was flipping through magazine articles. That's kind of all I would do. I wouldn't really read them, honestly. This one day I said, well, how about we sit down and we have a look? Like, let's actually read through.
Hmm.
And I actually, it was interesting. I didn't have to even open up the magazine, it sort of opened up on its own to this article called What is Life Coaching? And this was
Oh,
2002. And
yeah.
I was like,
Relatively
yeah,
new. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, yeah, what is life coaching? I mean, immediately I felt my heart just have a
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
it was the thing, right? That just
Yeah.
when you get that energy of this feels right. And I hadn't even read the article yet. It was just the phrase life coaching.
Yeah.
So I read the article and I really felt it was speaking to me. And I felt like I didn't know that phrase back then, the universe.
Hmm.
I had
Right.
learned it in my coaching program, funny enough, back then. But it was one of those moments of like, holy cow, this is magic. I feel like the universe is delivering this directly to me. And I immediately enrolled in my first coaching certification program. And that was wonderful, but it didn't feel like enough. So I enrolled
Hmm.
a second one, which was back then called the Coaches Training Institute in San Rafael. It was all in-person experiential, very, very intense,
Yeah.
radically transformed my life. So then that started my journey into becoming a life coach. And part of my continuing education, I then became an advanced EFT tapping practitioner
Hmm.
and human design coach as well. And so what I do now is I use your human design chart to inform me on how I should conduct my sessions with you. So that way
Yeah.
we get you living in human design. It's called your incarnation cross, your soul purpose, your life mission. And the way
So
that,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and it's super fun and
Oh
it's
my gosh.
bespoke in that way, very customized. And
Hmm.
and then of course I use all of the other tools that I learned in my training programs
Yeah.
when I became a certified coach. So now I live in the Netherlands and
Yeah.
I live on an
Nice.
island.
Nice.
That was part of my own personal journey of going
Uh-huh.
the holistic route was I always wanted to travel and live abroad. And so when
Hmm.
I left federal probation. I left in 2000, December 2006
Hmm.
and went full time for myself after 4 years of being a coach part time alongside my federal probation.
Right.
Yeah. And
Transitioning in as
yeah,
we do.
getting the courage and the savings to
Yeah.
move out on my own without that supposed secure, stable pay,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
abroad, I moved to Spain, and then I moved to Africa. I moved to Angola, and then I moved to Kuwait. I was in Kuwait for about 8 years, met my husband who's Dutch, and here we are in the Netherlands.
How wonderful. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, if you could explain a little bit for people who may not ever heard of EFT or even the human design charting, if you could explain a little bit about what those actually are for somebody who maybe has no idea what those are.
Yeah, sure. Is it okay if I give you a little bit of maybe the history of EFT specifically?
Sure, sure. Whatever you want to talk about with it is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
just cut me off if I'm going. Um, so EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it was created by a man in California. His name is Gary Craig, and Gary is now in his 80s.
Yeah.
He's still active, and he's
Yeah.
still, yeah, it's really cool. He has a membership. I'm part of the membership still, and he has webinars on EFT. But he actually took something that was called thought field therapy, which was the tapping, just that
hmm
tapping piece, which was created by Dr. Roger Callahan, who was a psychologist, clinical psychologist. And Dr. Roger was having a lot of clients that he felt, geez, we're just kind of not getting anywhere. What is going to get them over the hump finally? And
Yeah.
he started to study kinesiology. And my
Mm.
understanding about Dr. Roger Callahan is that he also had his own anxieties, and that was also why he wanted
Oh,
to study kinesiology. And he basically started to bridge the gap between mind and body, and
yeah.
talk therapy and somatic sensing. And so
Yeah.
he created thought field therapy kind of on a whim, if you will. He had one client, he called her Mary, and she had a water phobia. And my understanding, she'd been
Oh.
with him for about 11 years. And
Mm.
he was able to get her into like maybe an inch of water or something of that sort.
Yeah.
It wasn't very much progress. And so one day she called him and she said that she was at the worst she had ever been with respect to
Oh.
phobia. And while she was talking to him on the phone, she happened to mention just in passing that her stomach was nauseous while she was going through the symptoms of her phobia. And he caught that. And so he told her, just tap under the eye, because he
Yeah.
knows the stomach point in
Wow.
kinesiology. So she starts tapping under the eye while continuing to talk to him. And immediately she says, oh my gosh, Dr. Callahan, I'm not scared of water anymore. And he's like, what? Like,
That quick, huh?
yeah,
Wow.
that quick. And so she said, no, I'm going to prove it to you. I will come over to your home. She knew he had a swimming pool. I'll go in the pool. She comes over. Apparently she goes in the pools. Everything is fine. And that phobia
Wonderful.
returned. And apparently she went on all these talk show circuits and shared, how this thought field therapy really, really dramatically changed her life. So Dr. Roger Callahan started teaching this method.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of different, what he called algorithms, not like we see on Facebook and social media,
Right.
tapping combinations where you're tapping on different parts of the body. And those
Yeah.
points are connected to the medians in your body. And
Yeah.
basically, Gary Craig ended up becoming a student of him. And Gary Craig at that point was a master NLP practitioner. And
Yeah.
he just found this methodology of thought field therapy, TFT, to be so profound. But Gary, he has a degree in engineering from Stanford, and his Stanford engineering brain went, this is actually too complicated, though, because there's too many tapping combinations. So let's say,
Yeah.
for example, you had a phobia against water, you would tap in a certain way on certain points. Let's say you had a breakup with a boyfriend, you tap on a different combination. You had to remember all these
hmm
combinations. And
Yeah.
said, can't we come up with a basic recipe,
Yeah.
same tapping points in the same way that will then hit up all the meridians and balance out your organs, and rewire your brain, and you still get to talk? Can't we
Yeah.
find a way? And so he found that way, and then he called it emotional freedom techniques, EFT. Now,
Yeah.
tapping is one of the emotional freedom techniques, but it's not the only emotional freedom technique. So you'll hear it be called EFT, or you'll hear it be called.
Right.
So I can just do a little demo, like we tend to start on the side of the hand with
Right.
the setup statement, which is like, even though I have this problem, I still love myself, or even though I have this problem, I accept myself. And then we go through various tapping points on the body. And when I'm working with someone, what I'm doing is I'm looking for specific releases, like they might have swallowing releases or crying releases, coughing releases, runny nose. And this is the energy that's moving out of the body. The emotions are starting to release and purify themselves. And at the same time, you'll notice that your beliefs will start to switch, because we're using certain language as well, of course, when we're doing an EFT session. So and you and I we're going to do a little demo, right? So we can,
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Cool. So we can show what it actually sounds like and how it actually works.
Yeah.
That's EFT.
Yeah. Awesome. So you obviously, since with the human design charts to help you have more personal effect with your clients. So you're mixing the two together, the EFT and the personal chart, to help figure out how to work with them in EFT.
Yeah, so I can
Yeah.
also, if you want, give a little bit of a history of human design and then share how I use their chart with respect to the language of EFT, if that's
Sure,
right.
sure. Yeah. You had sent me over a couple links and I did two of them and it was just so involved.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what to like write down about it or, I
Yeah.
didn't print it out because it would be a lot of pages and it was like I didn't understand what I was looking at. So that's something I know about EFT, but the human design chart is something that I didn't know about before. And so yeah, so I had tried to figure out my human design, I guess, but it was kind of a lot.
Yeah,
So,
and I love that you said that, actually, because that is the number one reason why I combine human design
yeah,
and EFT, because I love human design. It is an incredible tool, but it is extremely complex.
yeah.
And I'm trained in it. I've been working in it
Hmm.
for more than 10 years now. But what I was finding, of course, was when I was introducing this modality to my clients, they were immediately overwhelmed. And of course, they didn't want to do
Hmm.
all of the legwork to study and research what are all these
Yeah.
lines and numbers and shapes and
Oh
so
my
on.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the
Right.
symbols and yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All the symbols and the archetypes, and the list goes on and on and on. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, how can I bridge the gap? Because I really
Yeah.
saw the power of the synthesis of using them together, where,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute, we can use specific language in EFT that is related to how your energy is designed, which I'll talk
Yeah.
about in a sec with human design, that is going to help you get to exactly where you want to go. And
Yeah.
I found something just really simple. So in human design, well, first of all, it kind of hit the masses in 1987, if you will. A man who is the same, by the way, archetype, the same design type you are, he's a manifester.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And there's a reason I believe he was chosen to download this information, because he was a manifester.
Yeah.
Manifestors are here to create movements, to create
Hmm.
trends, to initiate big things and have a lot of power. And they embody a lot of leadership. And if anybody can kickstart something that's crazy and wacky, a manifester can do that. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
good to know.
It is, Pamela, that's the energy that you carry and that you embody, being having that design
Awesome.
type. Yeah. And like what you're doing with respect to your YouTube channel, you're creating this movement in what you're doing with respect to holistic practitioner conversations. So it
Yeah.
really suits you. It really, really makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah. So his name was Robert Allen Krakauer. He was from Canada, and he ends up leaving Canada and moves to Ibiza in Spain, doesn't tell his family. They actually thought he was dead. He was really living like a manifestor, because as manifestors are all about freedom.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and going, yeah, marching to their own drum, doing their own thing. And oftentimes not telling anybody. So takes off. And while he's there, he's living in this really, like, really, really kind of worn down, like basically where a squatter would live. It's just this old kind of, yeah, stone, yeah, little building on a hill. And really,
A little stone building
yeah,
on a hill in Spain sounds kind of nice.
yeah, and that's exactly what he thought. And nobody, there wasn't really anybody around. He was loving his life in that
Yeah.
regard. One night he came home, and when he came home, he saw just this light that was coming out of the place where he was living. And he was like, "What
Mm.
is going on?" And when he walked in, he heard what he calls the voice. And he was very resistant to hearing this voice. He did not want to listen to this message. And that voice kept giving him this information for 8 days and 8 nights, to the point where he had no choice but to pretty much write down everything that was essentially being channeled to him.
Yeah.
Plus was the entire human design system. And as you saw how complex it was just by
Yeah.
reading a chart. So when you imagine
Just a
that, yeah,
just a
that,
quick look, yeah, and I
yeah,
can't imagine getting all these sort of messages and downloads and then getting so much you're like, wait a minute, I need to write this down
yeah, yeah,
or I'll lose it. Yeah.
exactly. So that's the part to me that is so mind blowing. It's like you literally couldn't make this up. Like this had
Yeah.
to have been transmitted to him, because you can run a chart through for free, as you said you had done, and you just look at it and go, "What is going on? I have no idea. I don't understand things." And then that is just how mind blowing it is. So what he shared when he started to deliver the message of human design, when he stopped fighting it and said, "Okay, I'll
Yeah.
surrender and I'll share it with the world," was that human design is a synthesis of four different complex modalities. So the Kabbalah, the tree of life,
Hmm.
the Hindu chakra system,
Hmm.
Western astrology, and the I Ching. And when you just think about the beautiful blend of those four
So
modalities, that
much. Yeah.
alone is like, wow, is
Yeah.
super mind blowing. So what he started to do was share the system, and it's a very personal chart. It's sort of the same as if you were to run your astrological chart, but
Yeah, yeah, the
a lot
full
more.
personal chart with your date of birth and where
Yeah,
and yeah, you put in that same information that you would for an astrological chart, like the time of your birth, the place, and yeah,
yeah, exactly. Time of birth, date of birth, location of birth.
yeah,
And what you then get is this body graph. And this
yeah.
body graph, it is your own personal energetic blueprint. It is
Hmm.
how your energy runs and operates in your system, in your body. And that includes your aura. That's actually one of the most
Hmm.
important parts of human design, is understanding what type of aura you have.
Mm.
So there are 5 archetypes, 5 energy types in the human design system. So there's yours, there's the manifester, and manifestors make up only 8 to 9% of the population. So you have a really special, particular type,
Mm.
yeah, design. And your aura type as a manifester is known to be provocative and impactful. Like, I
Mm.
loved it when I was taking my classes with human design. One of my teachers, she said, when a manifestor walks in the room, it's like a leaf blower, just like, and it's your aura that precedes you. It's like, I'm here.
Mm.
And I have a lot of dear friends that are manifestors, and I know that when I'm going to see them, I better be prepared, because you don't have to say anything. It's just your aura.
Mm.
I know that I'm going to go through a really big transformation. Something is going to happen. Yeah. And that's something that's really beautiful that you carry, whether you know that or not, Pamela, is that people just being in your presence, the energy that you send out and transmit, whether you talk or not, something's going to happen with them.
Mm.
And usually what happens when we call a manifester into our life, whether it's just for the day, we're having coffee with somebody or
Yeah.
whatnot, it's a manifester, you are going to walk away after you've been in their aura, making a big change. And
Hmm.
you may not have known that you were ready for it, but your soul was. And that's what a manifester
Hmm.
brings to the table.
Wow.
So that's the first energy type. And yeah, yeah, wow is right.
Yeah.
It's a wow.
Yeah.
Manifestors all have their throat defined. So I'll go through that with you in a little bit, what that
Okay.
technology means. But it basically means you always have fixed access to the energy of the throat, and that you always have the ability to communicate and express and metamorphose and transform, and you are here to articulate. So it's not a surprise that you have this channel. Yeah. Every manifester I know or have worked with has said, I want a podcast or a YouTube channel here to talk and express and lead through the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I put a lot of thought in. I had invited people and then I started putting messages out and people started coming to me. So it just really kind of organically grew on its own. I mean, it's still a pretty small channel, but it's growing. I'm a few weeks ahead always. So yeah.
Amazing. And see, just like you said, people started coming to you.
Yeah.
That's the other beauty of being a manifestor. So it's like the moment you initiate, that is something
Mm-hmm.
here to do in human design is take that lead and initiate.
Yeah.
And boom, the people are like, okay, how can I help you? What do I need to do? And then
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
outsource and delegate. That's what manifestors do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. It sounds like you're living your strategy, as it's called in human design.
Yeah. Well, I just in the past, I guess 5 years or so, yeah, in the past 5 years, my whole life has changed. And so I'm
Mm.
really like growing, like more soul growth immensely in the past 5 years. So, and this is part of that.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for that because yeah, I'm looking at your date
Hmm.
of birth. So you have what's called a six line. So everybody is an energy type. So there's five
Hmm.
types. So manifestor, manifesting generator is the next one. Generator. I'm a projector, so that's
Okay.
the energy type, and then the fifth one is the reflector. And then every single person has what's called a profile. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember, but when you ran your chart, you would see these two numbers. So in your
Yeah.
case, you have a 4, and then there's a slash, and then there's a 6. So that's your
Okay.
profile. And each of those numbers in the profile are called a line. So you have a line 4 and you have a line 6, you specifically, and your profile is a 4, 6. The 6 is known as the role. I know that's a lot of information.
Even that little bit.
I
Yeah.
know it's like, makes your head spin. But I'll just let you know that with respect to those changes that you have
Hmm.
that are really regarding your soul,
Yeah.
with that 6 line, as I just said, it's actually in your unconscious. So may not really realize that you're here to be a role model, actually,
Yeah.
but you are. And a role model, by the way, in human design is not necessarily like you have to do everything perfectly or anything. That
Yeah.
is the energy of the role model is to observe things and go your own way. You might be invited and asked, hey, what do you see on this? What do you think about this? And you might share and you might not share, because
Yeah.
role models go, well, you know, it's probably better if I don't say that they need to learn on their own. So
Yeah.
6 line, by the way, mine is in my consciousness. So I'm
Yeah.
aware I've got this 6 line.
Hmm.
But with
Okay.
that 6 line is a 3-stage life. So everybody who has a 6 line in their profile
Ah.
is a 3-stage life. So the first stage from 0 to 30 is like highly experimental, may have felt really chaotic, lots of trial and error, experimenting, figuring out life by doing. And
Yeah.
stage 2 is from 30 to 50, where all of us
Mm.
6 lines, we go up on the roof, as it's called, and we're in a high state of observation. And we're also integrating all that craziness that we experienced in stage 1. So all that
Hmm.
experiential life experience, we start to really embody it. And, you know, we might be
Hmm.
detoxifying it, we might be purifying it. We're really in a place of integration and also a place of being ready, a place of
Yeah.
preparation for that full bloom role model phase, which is stage 3 from 50 on up.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
my
in.
gosh, 50. I mean, I'm 58. So I said 5 years because that's when big steps were taken. But actually, at age 50, I sold or got rid of everything. I got on a bus with a one-way ticket from Missouri to California, and everything's been much better in my life since then. So, wow.
Yeah. And
It's
that
just
totally
so
makes
right
sense.
on.
Yeah. And also because around the time that you hit 50, you also went into your Chiron return.
Mm,
And so then that's another around 2-ish, 3-ish years. And
yeah.
where you kind of like, yeah, you're revisiting past wounds, but generally
Mm,
speaking, kind of just like looking at them, and there isn't the attachment or the over identification of them. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that you did say 5 years ago that would have put you at around 53 when the Chiron
Yeah.
was finishing, and then you start
Yeah.
on this next level completely. I think that's another thing that to me makes human design phenomenal. It's like when we
Yeah.
start, dig into like your personal chart, for example, go, oh my gosh, yeah, that it's there. It's
Yeah.
there. It makes sense. So I'll
Yeah.
quickly say how I combine EFT and human design. So in human design, the whole purpose of it is to understand where you were conditioned, how you were programmed while you
Yeah.
were growing up, either by parents, ancestors, your culture, the state
Right.
you're raised in, the country you're raised in, school, so on
Yeah.
and so forth. Past relationships you were in, friendships you had, teachers, and then ideally that you go through what's called a deconditioning
Hmm.
process, so that way you come home to you and you live out the essence of who you were born to be. And so the language that is used in human design is self and not self. So you're here to be the self, but we're
Yeah.
often conditioned in the not self. And that's
Hmm.
where, to me, EFT comes in. All the limiting beliefs that most of us are conditioned in, they're not our limiting beliefs. We think they are.
Yeah.
We
Mm.
take them on, we own them. And then because of those limiting beliefs, we then start to operate in certain behaviors, and we
Hmm.
carry on in those behaviors, even though we might hear that small voice that says, well, I don't really know if I should be doing this. I don't want to do this anymore, but we carry on because it's become so familiar. So
Yeah.
with our language with EFT, what I do is I take the not self themes from your specific design, like as a manifester, and then the not
Hmm.
self theme of the manifester is anger. And the theme that you're here to live, your self theme, is peace and freedom.
Hmm.
So if we were to do a session together, then I'd say, even though I'm feeling angry and I don't feel free, I invite in the possibility of peace and freedom. So
Yeah.
that's why I take the language of human design and customize it in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chart also has things like your specific talents, your specific skill
Mm.
sets, your specific competencies. So for example, you're here, you have what's called the right angle cross, the vessel of love. So that is, you're here to teach people about self-love, love of body, love of humanity in a very authentic, living from the spirit of innocence way. That is
Mm.
your specific reason for being, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I talk a lot about self-love, and it's something that I learned, probably at 50, right? So that is so right on, and I definitely, that freedom is so important to me because I feel like so much of my life I didn't have that. And so that's become like my guide is, being free to be me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, since you said that, since we talked about doing a little demo, when you were growing, was it the people that were in your, your family or your circle that really tried to quiet your voice and
Well, I grew up mostly neglected. Like I'm the youngest of two sisters, and then so my parents divorced when I was pretty young, and my mother was never around. My father was out of the picture. So I was alone a lot of the time. I did not have any supervision or guidance for most of my childhood.
Mm,
So I was silenced by the fact that there was nobody there to listen or
yeah,
take care of me. And
yeah,
I grew up feeling like my voice didn't matter just because nobody was there
yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah, and for a manifester, that can feel so debilitating and
Yeah.
like torture, because you, like we talked about a moment ago, you are here
Yeah.
to express and communicate and have your
Yeah.
voice heard. Yeah, interesting. Because oftentimes I will have that experience
Yeah.
with manifestors where they felt like if they were silenced in the way that you were, or literally said, like, be quiet,
Hmm.
talk, then they started to have a lot of throat issues, as well as a lot
Yeah.
of like chest pain, like that feeling
Yeah.
of the chest, like that elephant on the chest that they say,
Right.
friction. Yeah, they'll have a lot of that they share with me.
Yeah, I don't have that and I never did. So I don't know exactly, other than because then later in life I ended up having, anxiety and I had a
Mm.
major mental breakdown, and that was just before age 50. And that's what
Oh,
led me to go to, to get on that bus and do everything. But at that, when you're in high anxiety and super depressed, you do feel like that weight on your chest. But
yeah.
other than that, like in growing up and stuff, I don't remember ever having much with that. But yeah.
Mm. How about numbness? Because I've had a lot of that where manifestors have shared that they like have felt disconnected or numb or can't feel their feelings.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So I think most of my life until close to age 50, or or even those few years before that, starting to become feeling again. And I'm still working on that. Emotions are really difficult for me. And yeah, I've described being numb in the
Yeah.
past. And part of that, I always attributed it to, first of all, there was nobody there to cry to or, be angry at. And I had my oldest sister was killed in a car accident when she was 18 and I was just turning 14. And one of the adults, one of my mom's friends said, "Don't you cry. Don't you cry. You be strong for your mother." That's the
It
worst thing.
is.
And
It
that really, you know, set in me deep, I guess, because I still have a hard time, like even crying when I should be crying.
Yeah, yeah. And you are what's called an emotional manifester. So
Mm.
that's where you get your authority from. You get your authority from your solar plexus. So in
Mm.
the chart itself, there are 9 different centers. I don't know if I can show a little bit of this is my writing on you.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, each of those centers has an energetic meaning or symbolism. So, and they're either what we call defined in human design, which means they're colored in.
Hmm.
My printer, it didn't print the color, so I
Yeah.
was coloring in where you
No.
have definition. Um, but where it's colored in, that means you have constant, consistent, fixed access to the
Mm.
symbolism of that particular center. So, for example, you have your emotional solar plexus defined, it's colored in. You have your ego, what's also known as your heart or willpower. That center is also colored in, so that means it's defined. You will, of course, have your throat defined because all manifestors do. And all manifestors always have what's called a motor connected to their throat. Again, that's a
Mm.
lot of information, but why I bring up your emotional solar plexus is we all of us, no matter what our design type is, whether we're a manifestor or a manifesting generator, projector, reflector, we all have an authority. There's a place where we get our intuition and our decision making power from. It's our specific guidance, if you will. And
Hmm.
you get yours from your solar plexus, which is where our emotions are housed. And people who have that defined often will tell me that emotions are hard for them. And the reason for
Hmm.
that is because people who have that have constant fixed access to emotions. So that means
Mm.
you can be feeling 5 different emotions at the same time, 10 different emotions at the same
Yeah.
time. And that can feel very, very challenging to identify which emotion am I feeling?
Oh
So
my gosh, yeah.
yeah.
I do that a lot. I try to like step away from it and then try to identify what is this?
Well done. That's really great because I don't have that authority, but I work with people a lot who have emotional authority, who have that
Hmm.
center defined. Anybody who has that center defined automatically has emotional authority, by the way.
Hmm.
Uh, there's another name for it. It's called wait for clarity. So you and anybody who has that particular center defined are here to wait for clarity. So that basically when you're feeling an emotion consistently over
Hmm.
perhaps several days, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm sad. I've been sad. I was sad yesterday. I was sad the day before. I was sad the day before that. Okay, I've been sad for 5 days. So I guess I'm sad right now. And then you start to move to a place of hopefully more neutrality, emotional neutrality.
Yeah.
You're in that place of more emotional neutrality as maximum as you can get with that emotional neutrality, then that is the time to take your decisions. So sleeping on decisions for you is a really smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And also to not be scared of the emotions, naming them like
Hmm.
tapping, by the way, EFT tapping really helps people who have this particular authority. So that's
Yeah.
always what I'm doing too when I'm doing an EFT session and I'm combining human design is I'm looking at what's their authority, and each person's authority has a different sort of way of operating. So for example, I'm called a self-projected projector, and the way
Mhm.
that I access my authority is by talking by myself or soundboarding with somebody else. It could be journaling, by the way, it could some
Yeah.
form of expression.
Yeah.
I often voice memo myself by myself while I'm out on a walk. And that's how I access my authority. And then when I
Mm.
hear either the excitement in my voice or the clarity in my voice, I know this is a yes for me. I will also,
Yeah.
my authority is in the center of my chest from what's called the G center, which is the center
Hmm.
of self-identity and love and direction. And I'll
Mm.
feel kind of this warm sensation. And
Yeah.
or if it's constricted, I'm like, oh, this is a no-go. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I'm constantly doing is I'm guiding people in our EFT tapping sessions
Yeah.
toward their human design authority. I'm not the authority. This is your authority. Let's see what
Right.
I'm telling you to do. Yeah. And then the more that
Right.
happens, and I'm conditioning them, if you will, in our tapping
Mm-hmm.
sessions to follow their authority by following that specific strategy that comes with it in human design. Man, the change, the transformation, the healing, the happiness, the joy, it comes fast.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I can imagine
All
having
that,
that.
that was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot, but that's okay. I think this is one of those things that a lot of people probably never heard of, or maybe heard of it, but just really didn't understand what it really was all about. And that also really shows on how personal you can get with, it's so much more than just coaching. Just it's so much more involved and so much more personal for the person. That's awesome, and that really helps people to get to the root of their issues or get to where they want to be. If they're working with their human design, I mean, gosh, it's gotta be very much more helpful than just the traditional kind of coaching.
In fact, that's actually what I found. You said it
Yeah,
whereby you're given a set of questions or you're taught how to ask questions in a
right.
specific way. But as I started to study and train and work in human design, I was like, you know what? I cannot ask questions in this way. For example, open-ended questions,
Mm-hmm.
ideal for what's the design type of manifesting generator, and generator closed-ended is more ideal. But and with you, with a manifester, it's actually not ideal to ask questions. Manifestors
Mm.
tend to not like questions because it can feel like an interrogation. You're laughing, you're smiling, like, yep, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's more like, oh, I'd like to hear about that, Pamela. Oh, I'd love to know what
Yeah.
happened here. Oh, I'm really excited to know about this. And kind of informing this
Yeah.
is, I think sounds amazing about what you're doing right now. And then essentially you be informing me back. There also might just be a lot of listening on my part with the manifester, allowing to
Yeah.
exercise that throat and communicate
Mm.
and really tapping into that peace, freedom, and creativity side.
Yeah.
Also giving manifestors a lot of permission to rest and work with their creative bursts. You guys are here to be creative, but you work in burst energy. It's not always a
Yeah.
consistent thing. So can you imagine if I'm showing up with a manifestor and I'm asking all of these open-ended questions, I could be pissing my manifestor clients off. Yeah.
Or they're thinking, I don't like her style. This
Yeah.
might not be the right coach for me. Yeah.
Totally, 100%. And then the flip side, we projectors love open-ended questions. We're very philosophical, very heady. We love to geek out on stuff. So asking a fellow projector open-ended questions, they're like, yeah, but if I go into closed-ended questions and I'm, is it this or that? They're like, well, actually, no, it's this. There's a third option. There's a fourth option. There's a fifth option. Why are you forcing
Yeah.
me down one road or the other? So really understanding the difference between those energy types has been a game changer in my own practice.
I bet.
And for
Yeah.
them, a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can totally see that. I was thinking that as you were talking, that it helps you to do your job better. It helps you to connect with your clients better and to help serve them in a way that's going to be more helpful for them and probably quicker too. I mean, if you can get
Yeah.
all of that down, then and they understand. And like me, I was like, yeah, at this age this and this age this and I did this,
Yeah.
and so just this quick little thing, I understood a lot more about why things happened when they happened. So
Yeah.
amazing. I
Really,
love
yeah,
it.
it feels really positive and validating and reinforcing. That's
Yeah.
no matter what design type, I've had that same response from everybody that I've introduced human design to.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen. I feel like I finally understand myself. I feel like
Right.
I have words that I was trying to explain to other people, but I couldn't explain. And and then also a lot of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to figure this out. It's all right here. This is so nice. It's
Yeah.
guide for my life, and now I know what to do. That feels so reassuring and a relief. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine like with people who are really questioning, what am I here for? What am I doing? Where do I go next? Just questioning their whole life.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people get into that kind of mindset at some point in their life, and this would be really helpful for that. Yeah. And then with the tapping, helping to moving them forward in the direction that would be best for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you nailed it because that was the other thing that I was experiencing was, okay, I can show you who you are on an
Yeah.
energetic level, why you're here, what you're here to do. But then we've got that how piece. So
Yeah.
human design gives you sort of the how, but really how to put the how into place is
Right.
it's not there and it's not really practical. So each person has what's called a strategy and authority. So for
Mm.
to make the best decisions and for you to live your most peaceful, free life, it might sound a bit counterintuitive, but you're here to inform others. So your
Mhm.
strategy so that you have effectiveness and the best decision making and to feel free and peace would be to let people know, I'm going to go off the map now for about 5 months. Don't call me, for example.
Yeah.
And that might sound counterintuitive because it's like, well, that's not very freeing if I have to tell people. But what ends up happening when you give people that heads up and you inform them
Yeah.
is they leave you alone. And so then you get that freedom and peace that you were seeking. But if you don't follow that strategy of informing, you can bring up that not self theme of anger because people
Mm.
might be blowing up your phone, you calling you, where are you? Where are you? Like, and then you're getting angrier and not
Mm.
peace and free, for example. So that is one of the main pieces is I want to be able to show people how you can actually execute your strategy in human design. And people have a lot of resistance towards their own strategy because it does
Mm.
feel counterintuitive and you may have been conditioned away from your strategy.
Yeah.
For example, for me, I'm here to wait for invitation.
Mm.
So for example, we are in a same group and I saw your invitation inviting people to come and be guests. Okay, that's an open invitation. I'm a projector, then I can accept that invitation. But growing up, I wasn't
Mhm.
raised to wait for invitation. I was actually raised to be more like a manifester to take
Mm.
charge. I was the oldest girl. I was basically taking care of my sibling. So, therefore I was really initiating and really
Yeah.
go-getter and not waiting for invitation. So I could come across to people as I could repel people because
Mm.
it's not part of my aura. That's not part of my energy as a projector. Um, we're here to wait for invitation as projectors because we're known as the guides or the sages. And
Mm.
therefore here to really see you and put you in the spotlight and then share with you all of this amazing potential that you have. But if people aren't ready to hear that,
Yeah.
then it's like, whoa, that's too much. Also, because my aura is penetrating and absorbing. So people really feel that if they're not ready, that my aura is invasive and intrusive.
Hmm.
So you can imagine growing up that people felt that a lot. But of course, learning that, I then had to go, well, okay, how do I decondition all of this like self-starter energy? How
Yeah.
do I do that? EFT tapping was
Yeah.
way that was I would say, okay, even though I was raised as a self-starter, I'm safe to wait for invitations. So I would take the link
Nice.
from human design, I would take my strategy, and put that into what we call the setup statement from EFT, that even though statement. And that's what I do
Nice.
with every design type. So then you see, like you said, the movement
Yeah.
really starts to happen because your cells hear the language that you were already born with, that you were
Hmm.
programmed with. And they're like, okay, she's speaking my language. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And then
Yeah.
meridians start naturally rebalancing and calibrating. And
Yeah.
then it's almost like it's organic. It's like you don't really have to think about how to implement your strategy in human design.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get the energies moving through all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And then it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that people then okay, you have to do the work in essence because you're showing up and we're tapping together,
Hmm.
but the work really carries on even after the session. Like
Yeah.
all that stuff is still happening even when we hang up and you go on over a week later. Oftentimes people are having this rebalancing and recalibrating going on,
Hmm.
releasing the freeing of the emotions and those limiting beliefs and behaviors as a result.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, that I still have this ongoing benefit even after the session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, this isn't something that you do in groups. It's one-on-one kinds of sessions, right?
I am meeting with people one-on-one privately
Yeah. And
through Zoom.
through video call. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can
Or
work with people anywhere.
yeah, I can. And if people are in person, then I do tap on them in person. Uh,
Hmm.
Occasionally, I'm invited to do retreats and host in-person groups.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's super fun
Oh,
because,
I bet.
well, yeah, I'll tap on myself and people will tap on themselves, but then I also
Yeah.
will partner people and then they'll tap on each other. And
Yeah.
I'll come around
Nice.
and I'll tap on each person as well. So that's super fun. And of course, you
Yeah.
bring their chart. So
Hmm.
and I'm able to use language from their chart in the moment while tapping in when I'm invited
So
to be a
fun.
retreat leader. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great that doing retreats like that. I love that. Yeah.
Oh, it's really special because then, yeah, well, of course, it's in person and
Yeah.
something that happens when you do feel the tapping from a
Hmm.
practitioner on yourself or another person. Um, it's kind of like getting a massage, maybe you might say, or
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you're moving energy around in that.
yeah,
So I think too, then a lot of times when people are introduced to something new that they are physically doing to themselves, they're wondering, am I doing this right? Is this correct? And
yeah,
then when you do it and sort of demonstrate for them on them, then they can feel like the amount of pressure or like, or what you're doing and where exactly. I mean, just all kinds of things. People can be like, am I doing it right? But then if you are there doing it for them to show them, then they know, oh yeah, this is right where she tapped. Yeah.
yeah. And they love it too when,
Oh, I bet.
everybody's doing it together. So
Yeah.
they feel safe. And also when they partner up with each other, that's a really special moment whenever
Yeah.
that is a really beautiful thing. I really love that when I get to stand back and go, oh, and you see them bonding over tapping together. That's
Yeah. They probably make lifelong friends
they
during
do.
those retreats.
They do. In fact, the last one that I did, which was last September, out here in the Netherlands as well, it's run by a breath worker, and she has me come in and do a session on EFT. So that's also special because they're doing breath work, and then we go into the tapping.
Yeah.
Well, when I paired these women up, see, some of them start crying in the moment, but
Sure.
they feel so,
Releasing the emotions. Yeah.
and they feel so safe because they've been with each other
Hmm.
in this retreat that
Yeah.
they really facilitate this emotionally free
Yeah.
woman, if you will, right in the moment. But it still is just as effective online, I have to
Yeah.
say. So when I'm working one-on-one, like we're talking right now
Yeah.
on Zoom, I'm tapping on myself, you're tapping on yourself, which is also very special because of that self connection with your own
Hmm.
body, and then
Yeah.
just learning how the recipe works. Because in
Yeah.
between sessions, I tell my clients it's important for you to keep up your own self tapping, even if you're just doing
Yeah.
minutes a day when you wake up, just to get into that rhythm. Know that this is your default tool when your limiting belief pops up, your inner saboteur,
Yeah.
your inner critic, imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs, whatever, and that you can immediately calm and quiet that noise. But
Yeah.
the thing that's important to remember with EFT is we're not just going for symptoms. We are looking for the core emotional cause that is bringing about the ongoing disturbance.
Yeah.
So while I do encourage people to tap on their own, even look at videos on YouTube, no problem.
Hmm.
They're very powerful, but realize that you might still have that same ongoing issue if you're not
Yeah.
getting the core emotional cause. And those videos are not going to teach you how to get to the core emotional cause. So that's
Yeah.
practitioner does come in and
Yeah.
always looking for that. And sometimes it's buried deep. And sometimes
Hmm.
it takes us a lot of sessions to get there. Sometimes we find it in the first session.
Yeah, and that was my next question. So
Yeah.
you're pretty intuitive too. So I think that's the second time that's happened. But I was going to ask then, how many sessions does it take? Does somebody, but it can be one or it can be several. It just depends each person, yeah, what they
Yeah.
need. And
Yeah,
so that
Gary
makes
Vee
sense.
has this term about, sometimes it's like a kind of like a one-hit wonder. It's kind of like
Yeah.
this miracle session where in one session you may have been dealing with this thing forever. You never knew what the cause of it was, but it is bringing about these ongoing physical and emotional manifestations.
Yeah.
And it's really painful in your life. And then you have one EFT session with a practitioner, and boom, you did it.
Yeah.
It can happen, but I would say. It depends on what the issue is, you know.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked with people who have been sexually molested, sexually abused, so more than likely we're going to work together a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Depends on where they are in their trauma journey. You
Right,
know,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, because some people probably have already been to therapists, just your more traditional Western therapy, psychotherapy, and that. A lot of people with those kinds of traumas may have already been through that or are still ongoing through that, but looking for something that may really hit deeper, or
yeah.
they may feel stuck in that continuous kind of a loop with a therapist and just talking about it a lot and not really feeling like they're getting a whole lot out of it other than being able to bring it up to the surface. And then they might need something a little deeper and a little more personal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly been my experience is I've worked with both men and women with
Mm-hmm.
respect to sexual abuse. And by the time that they got to me, they had
Mm-hmm.
tried a lot of things already, just like
Yeah.
I did, and felt like they were not getting anywhere, or they were at least able to kind of cope in their day to day, but they still had
Yeah.
it in their body. They needed to get the energy out. If
Yeah.
some of them also had numbness, men in particular, where
Mm.
they knew, okay, this happened in my life, these events occurred. They may have told people even, but they were maybe just friends or they were just family. So there wasn't really any education on how to help them get to
Yeah.
this place. And so there was so much numbness that we actually had to spend a lot of sessions just to be able to get them to feel their body first.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is almost a year, could
Yeah.
be longer. And then finally, when we get to that point of feeling, okay, I can feel my body, I can actually feel it. Now we can start hopefully clear
Yeah.
all the aspects. And we like to call it sneaking up on trauma and EFT. So that
Mm-hmm.
way you don't have to tell me the whole story. We don't have to
Mm-hmm.
every experience that you had. I don't even want, you don't even have to see stuff. We don't have to do that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but we do want to clear what we call all the aspects. So whatever brings on the trauma, you might say, well, there's a smell. I remember a smell. You don't have to tell me what the smell is, but I remember a smell, or I remember a piece of clothing. I remember this color.
Mm-hmm.
Then we tap out on all of those particular aspects, is what we call them in EFT, until it's like, okay, you know what, I'm good. I don't even
Yeah.
notice this anymore at
Oh,
all.
nice.
Disturbing.
That's
And then
so nice.
sometimes they can just get to the point where they can actually tell the story about
Mm-hmm.
what happened, and there's no pain, suffering,
Yeah.
trigger. Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So many people have, I'd say almost everybody has some sort of trauma in their background. So, yeah. So
I'll tell you,
that's,
and don't know it, myself included.
oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I never knew that I should be using that word trauma with respect to certain things that I experienced when I was growing up. And I think that also can be very generational. I think, today's
Yeah.
millennial and today's Gen Zer, they're familiar with that word. Like they're in
Right.
with that word. They're probably traumatized by that word by now. But our generation, I
Right.
mean, we're told like police officers and veterans had
Yeah.
PTSD, for example, and had trauma, but nobody else. But that's not true. You can witness somebody else's trauma. It's not even your own
Right.
trauma, but it
Yeah.
traumatized you. And we
Yeah.
also say little t trauma or big T trauma in
Mm.
EFT. And in my own case, I realized, holy cow, I've got both. And I didn't know. And it was EFT,
Yeah.
human design, and
Yeah.
my studies in coaching that got me through. And of course, they will always be there, right? There'll always be shades of it. But once
Yeah.
you learn a tool like you teach here with the various practitioners that you speak with, once you learn a tool that you feel good about and you like, and you know
Hmm.
that you can replicate it, you can keep using it, you'll keep using that tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the thing. People get these tools and then they don't use them. You still
Yeah.
work on your own, but you can move through it and have a lovely life.
Yeah. Because you're not erasing things, you're learning how to work through it and how to live through it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
To
Yeah.
stop over identifying with it or shaming yourself and blaming
Right.
yourself for it, and just realizing it's a part of you, but it's not all the parts of you.
Right. Right. You're
There
so
are
much more than
other
your
parts of,
trauma.
yeah,
Yeah.
you are, and you
Yeah.
have other empowered parts, and you've got your
Right.
self part, for example, and your higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, but acknowledging the parts too, and acknowledging and loving and greeting those parts that did have the
Yeah.
trauma. They do have stuff to teach you, and that's usually just what they want. And that's what we also do in EFT is a lot of parts work. So that way
Yeah.
those parts feel seen and loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lifecoachlaurie.com is where people can find you and also on Substack .com. But is there anything new coming up that you're working on or?
Yeah, I think that your viewers would appreciate this since a lot of them are also practitioners that
Mhm.
I'm going through a whole restructuring of my practice, and that has felt really exciting and also at times confusing. And yeah, like going, okay, what are all of the next steps and putting all of these moving pieces together. And so I had mentioned a bit earlier, I was doing group tapping sessions online, and
Yeah.
I stopped doing that. And I
Hmm.
basically stopped offering all my offerings in the way that I was offering them. I had a small membership and I stopped that as well in January of 2025. So what
Hmm.
is new is I'm basically doing an application process. So
Oh.
yeah, I never did that before. What I did was pretty much like a lot of other coaches, do a discovery call. Do we have
Hmm.
chemistry? This is what I want to do with you. How does that feel? And then onboard you. And now I'm not doing it that way. I really want to know that you're really ready,
Yeah.
because oftentimes, like, we would do a discovery call and it would feel like a fit, and then the invitation would be there, and then someone would start working with me, and then I would just go, oh, the level of emotional readiness isn't at the level that I thought. And I really
I
want
see.
to, yeah, that we're at a strong vibrational match. To me, that is now the most important, because I'm also off the roof. I came off the roof as a 6 line in human design last May. I hit then. So I'm at this place of, no, I want to embody my full role model 6 line
Yeah.
energy, and I want to know that I'm going to take you deep. We're going to do the work. Your life is really radically going to transform. I will guarantee that. I promise that. But I need you ready, and I need you
To
to
be
know,
ready.
yeah, and I need you to know that that's my expectation of you. I
Hmm.
want you to have expectations of me as your coach and practitioner, but that's my
Sure.
expectation of you. So I now have
Yeah.
this application process. Decide through that first introductory session, shall I invite you, or maybe come back another time when
Yeah.
you are ready, or I refer you out to somebody else that I think
Yeah.
might be more of a fit for you right now. It might not be me, but there's somebody for you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so nice. Yeah. So
No.
it's not just a hard no. It's like, well, here's your options. Here's what we can
Yeah.
do instead of starting with me right now. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
great. I did see on your website there's an assessment. So
Yeah.
that's not the application process though, is it? That's just a self-assessment so that people can kind of get a head start on knowing
Yeah.
where they are. Yeah.
Yeah, just 4 little simple questions. And that's kind of all
Yeah.
the crux of my work. So when you take that assessment, then that's going to also help me know where you are right now when it
Yeah.
comes to, feeling safe to receive, feeling safe to rest, feeling safe to trust your resources and tap into your resources and your own body rhythms. And what I end up doing, if I do extend the invitation to you, is then I say, okay, I'm going to go away for a few days. I'm going to meditate and tune in, reread all
Mhm.
my notes from our introductory session, and then I create a bespoke, customized roadmap from all of my library of tools, and I
Hmm.
map out what I'd like to do with you each session. And I put an offer together, actually. So I send
Yeah.
in a private offer. You get to read over what I want to do with you. And then if you're on board, then we start. And then with that way, they feel like they have a roadmap that encompasses their human design. And
Yeah.
they also know, wow, she's going to take me from here to there. And I'm seeing it right in front of my face. So I know in advance what's expected of me from Laurie, and
Yeah.
sort of how to mentally and emotionally prepare. And it's also a lot of fun because I'm not only doing EFT. There's other things that I'm doing in there as well. So that kind of also can make them feel a bit comforted that
Yeah.
they can see this. It's literally customized specific for you. I
Hmm.
created these sessions in advance based on what you said you wanted. And okay, so then I for this and
Right.
that. Yeah. So super fun.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times when people come to holistic practitioners, whether they're coaches or whether whatever kind of modality it is, they're not always sure what to expect or what's gonna, and that's part of why I'm doing this with holistic practitioners so the public can see what is this all about, and what can I expect if I reach out to Lori or to somebody else, what can I expect? What are they going to do or want me to do? So,
Yeah. Yeah, that
yeah.
part's important. What do they want me to do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what do I have to do? What do I
Yeah.
have to know?
Yeah. And that's so true because oftentimes people go to coaches and they don't know that, oh, there's going to be things they want me to do. There's things I'm going to have to do in between sessions. And so
Yeah.
I feel a little bit like off-putting and surprising. So I really want to remove that element of
Yeah.
surprise. Oh, I want there to be some fun and surprise, of course,
Yeah.
inside the session, but not where you're kind of feeling like you don't have
I have
your
no
area.
idea what to expect.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the other thing, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I was always customizing each session, but without having done a roadmap in advance, sometimes it was just feeling like clients were showing up and they were swimming a bit. And so
Yeah.
in a long time, all last year, all December, I closed down my practice and was just like, how can I make this better? How can I improve this and make it easier for them so that they do show up and they're not swimming and we maximize their time so they really get the
Yeah.
most out of their sessions. Yeah. So that way I'm not leaking energy either.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Ah,
Yeah. You don't want to feel like you're going around in circles and just kind of, yeah. Yeah. Not getting anywhere. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. That because to me, I think that I want them to have results at the end of the day. And
Absolutely.
yeah, my authority in human design is success. So I want to feel successful, but I also want my clients to feel success. Keep going. You know what? That was worth my time. That was worth my money.
Mhm.
And I do feel more successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, where can people reach you? I mentioned your website, and we'll put whatever links you want me to put, we'll put them in the description. So, where can people reach you?
They can reach me at, so my name is Laurie, so lifecoachlaurie.com. My email,
Oh,
hello@lifecoachlaurie.com.
okay.
I am redoing my Instagram at the moment, but everything is at Life Coach Laurie. So if they go to Instagram,
Okay.
go to Facebook business page, it's at Life Coach Laurie as well.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, yeah, that's easy for people to remember too, but we'll put those links down in the description below. And is there anything that you would like to share or make sure that people know before we end this?
Um, well, I want to make sure that I honor your time, but I wanted to maybe do a couple rounds with you. I didn't
Oh,
forget.
okay.
If you're okay for time.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. As
All
long
right.
as you are. I mean, it's much later where you are than where I am. And
Oh no,
yeah.
I'm okay. I booked this time for
Okay.
we'll just do a little generic rounds, but maybe you could share with me. Well, I think you did already say, didn't you, Pamela, that what would make you angry is not feeling free and like you couldn't say what you needed to say.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
and not freedom to me is the same as peace. If you're not feeling peace within yourself and your life, then you don't feel free.
I would love to hear what takes away or blocks the feeling or not having the freedom or the peace. If you're able to,
When
yeah.
I think like if somebody else makes an appointment or somebody else makes schedules you to do something that you didn't have say in, you know,
Ah,
um,
Like a
or
shared family calendar and then
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, yeah, or feeling having somebody put something on you like an obligation that maybe if you had your own say in it, you wouldn't have taken that on.
Gotcha. So impose an obligation on you or
Yeah.
makes an appointment on your behalf or something.
Yeah. I'm so protective of my freedom.
Yeah, yeah. And good for you. That I love that as a manifester in particular. That's really
Yeah.
important because if the freedom, if your perception that the freedom is taken, then
Yeah.
that's where the anger comes about. So,
Yeah.
or let's do a little something if it's all right with you. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of imagining that someone has done something like that. They've imposed something on you, an obligation that you felt like you didn't have a say in. And let me know if you're able to feel a felt sensation in your body and where it is and what it feels like.
I would say it's in my solar plexus,
Oh, isn't that
right
amazing?
there.
That's where your
Yeah.
authority is.
I
See,
can feel it right there. It's like a brick. It's like a brick to think about it.
oh, that's great. You're able to describe that for me. Are you, and if we give the brick, like how big the brick is, how heavy the brick is.
Like a regular brick size, I would
Okay.
say.
I love that you're laughing. And so then when it comes to like the density or the heaviness of the brick, the weight is also the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm like totally picturing, I'm very visual, like I'm totally picturing like a brick, a real
And when it
brick.
if it has a color, this brick,
Yeah, that red
that
color
red,
kind of brush. Yeah, kind of.
okay, makes sense. I love it. And I love that you are like, I feel it in my solar plexus, and that's where your authority is in human
Yeah.
design. I mean, we cannot make that up. All right.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got our brick, we've got that it's the normal size of the brick and it's in the solar plexus. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is again, just for fun, playing, imagining that this has happened. Someone's taken your freedom away, and that sensation of that anger that's in the solar plexus. If we were to give it a score on a 0 to 5, 5 being like, yep, it's really noticeable, it's intense. 0 is not so much.
I'm gonna say a 3 or a 4,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty intense then
Mm-hmm.
for this made up uh,
Right. Whatever issue that
scenario.
somebody has put me in that I didn't have any say in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. All right. So we're going to start tapping at the side of the hand. And you can use all the fingers or you can just,
Okay.
two, whatever you prefer. And you can even mix. You don't, if you know,
Okay, that's what I was wondering too. Does it matter which side? Because I know like my view is like mirrored or something. So-
yeah, whatever feels comfortable for you. And if you need to change in the middle, that's also fine.
Okay.
Just go ahead and take care of your body. Sometimes I have to switch my shoulder, sometimes a bit.
Mm.
So you're going to just repeat after me, even though
Even though
when I think about
when I think about
somebody taking my freedom away,
somebody taking my freedom away,
it makes me angry.
that makes me angry.
It's like a brick in my solar plexus.
It's like a brick in my solar plexus.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I'm acknowledging this today.
I'm acknowledging this today,
And I still accept myself.
and I still accept myself,
Even when
even when
somebody puts an obligation on me
somebody puts an obligation on me
that I felt I had no say in.
that I felt I had no say in,
And it makes me really angry as a manifester.
and it makes me really angry as a manifester.
I have the right
I have the right
to use my voice
to use my voice
and inform,
and inform,
which is my strategy as a manifester,
which is my strategy as a manifester,
that this doesn't bring me peace or freedom.
that this doesn't bring me peace or freedom.
I'm safe to inform.
I'm safe to inform.
Just want to check in on that last statement. I'm safe to inform. I'm seeing your face, so I'm
Yeah,
curious.
that's like such a thing for me is like speaking up for Speaking of my feelings, yeah, that's really big for me my whole life.
Oh,
Yeah.
and as you're saying that, there is there's something going on in the body.
The brick feels lighter
Oh,
for
look at that
sure.
already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
loving that, Pamela. The brick feeling lighter, that happened at the same time that you noticed, wait, I am safe to inform.
It was starting to feel lighter as we were going. And then with that last one, it was like that really hit me. Like I
Mm,
really, everything before this was like, oh, we're thinking of a potential situation. But
mhm.
that statement was like, that is an issue I have.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Let's do that one. Even
Mhm.
though
Even though
I have an issue speaking up
I have an issue speaking up
and I haven't always felt safe
and I haven't always felt safe
to inform.
to inform.
The truth is,
The truth is,
I do have the right to speak up and inform.
I do have the right to speak up and inform.
I was born to do so, in
I
fact.
was born to do so.
So I invite in the possibility of
So I invite in the possibility of
feeling safe to inform.
feeling safe to inform.
All right, so I do just want to check in emotion wise before we start to go through the tapping points. So first we were tapping on that anger, we were bringing that
Yeah.
up, but then we had this not safe to inform, which you let me know which words feel best for you, which I would say is a fear, an anxiousness. If we can name an emotion that comes with that.
Maybe it is a fear or just not that it wouldn't matter, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm
Okay,
not sure
so
what
it's a
that is.
belief. Ah, it's a belief. Okay.
Okay.
You got a belief there. Okay, so this belief, it wouldn't matter. Is that
Yeah, that
which
my information, what I, yeah, wouldn't matter. That's what we're tapping on.
wouldn't matter or wouldn't be accepted?
Right.
Just a clarification. Okay. All right. So tapping on the top of the head. This belief,
This belief,
we're going to come here to the inside the eyebrows. I have a belief
I have a belief
that if I inform,
that if I inform,
it won't be accepted or matter.
it won't be accepted or matter.
Side of the eyes, this belief.
This belief,
Under the eyes, I feel this belief in my.
I feel this belief in my,
Yeah, let's see if you can notice where you feel the belief in your body.
it's almost like in my upper back.
Wow, that's really interesting. I have some
Yeah.
manifestors I work with, and that is exactly where,
Wow.
yeah, that's up like upper back, neck, or
Upper back, not neck, but upper back, like between my shoulder
oh
blades.
my God, oh my God, that's really tripping me out because this is exactly the place. So just can you describe what it feels like, that upper back sensation?
It's almost like a sharp, maybe like a pain. Yeah.
Like, let's go through a little bit of the quality of it, like being stabbed in the back, like a needle.
It's bigger than a needle.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's as harsh as being stabbed in the back, but it's more that than a needle.
Hmm. Pushed. I'm just doing clarification, just to
Yeah.
pushing or,
Um, yeah.
okay. All right. On the chest. This belief I have
This belief I have
that if I inform,
that if I inform,
won't matter,
it won't matter.
feels like I'm being pushed in the back.
Feels like I'm being pushed in the back.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Under the arm. And if you score the intensity of that sensation at the back on that 0 to 5, 5 is it's intense and 0 is not so much.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a strong, intense feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
Top of the head, this feeling at my back.
This feeling at my back.
It's pretty intense.
It's pretty intense.
Side of the eyes, it's a 3 out of 5.
It's 3 out of 5.
And under the eyes, let's just see if you might be able to recall when you very first felt that feeling ever in your life, if you're able to.
It feels like my whole childhood I felt that.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Considering what you had said. So let's just invite that part of you, the little girl that felt
Okay.
that sensation. And you said you're really visual, right, Pam?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if you can imagine just a like a movie screen in front of
Okay.
you. And that little girl, little Pamela, is
Mm-hmm.
there. And what we can do is invite her to get that feeling off her chest, that sensation,
Mm.
and give her the voice that she's safe to inform. And nobody has to be around. Or we can have another movie screen facing that movie screen with the people who didn't listen, and
Okay.
they're on freeze though. They,
Okay.
yeah, they don't get to talk, they don't get to do anything, and she can just freely inform and freely express. But we want to check in with how safe she feels to do that. And if you want in your mind's eye, you can ask her, do you feel safe to do this, or whatever feels best.
I think that she doesn't feel safe to
Okay.
inform, and it would be my parents. The first
Yeah.
people I thought of, my mommy and my father. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank her for recognizing that she doesn't feel safe to do that. Yeah. Let's just see if she feels safe to tell you,
Okay.
grown-up, adult, future her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah. We're
right.
buddies.
Okay. And just looking at her face, just acknowledging that this happened today, this sensation at the back, this feeling like she's being pushed. What's her face doing there?
When she's feeling that.
That you're acknowledging that and that you're saying, I know this happened. And
Mm.
yeah.
It's like a lightness. It's like opening up, like a lightness. Yeah.
All right. And let's ask her if there's anything that she wants or needs in this moment to help her feel more whole.
Just to have a hug, just to have I guess that's a symbol of affection,
Yeah.
and acceptance. Yeah. With a hug. Yeah.
And you feel safe to give her this hug?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Let's blend those screens and
Yeah.
you're jumping into her screen and you're giving that to her right
Yeah.
now. Brilliant. And letting her know she's safe to inform. She's born to inform. She, with the right people, can
Yeah.
speak up. Yeah. All right, so let's just tune back into that feeling at the back of the neck now.
Okay. Yeah.
You were to score it now on 0 to 5, what would that sensation be between the shoulders?
It's still there, but it definitely went down. I'm gonna say it's like a 1.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. That's really great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is because I mean, yeah, you can tap, we can do another round and you'll probably get down to 0, but
Yeah.
it's definitely been a release and definitely been a clearing. And there probably will be over the next few days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And having that we're recording this and that I can watch it over and do it again myself. So yeah, keep doing it. Yeah. Yeah. So
totally.
thank you for that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Where
And
I think going is just inviting you both to have, that peace, that freedom, that strength,
yeah.
safe to inform. And that anger isn't bad, that when the anger comes up, it's a messenger and an
Yeah.
indicator that you feel like your peace and freedom has been taken away. And then all that you got to do to get it back is to inform, hey, I feel like my peace
Yeah.
and freedom was taken away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
God.
so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and this has been so wonderful, so much more than expected, and I've learned a lot. I'm sure the listeners and viewers have learned a lot. So once again, I appreciate you so much, and I just want to thank you again for being my guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for doing this with me and offering this to all of us.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you.